Hi, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Horak coming to you live from her bedroom, one of my very favorite places to read. So today I thought I would appeal to some of our older students and read you a chapter from one of my favorite chapter books of all time. So this book is called The Phantom Tollbooth, and it's by Norton Juster, and it was published in 1961, but when you read it, you're going to see that a lot of what is in this book really applies to today, and you can relate to it still. One of the reasons I love this book was my third grade teacher read this book to me as a kid, and I'll never forget it. And then when I became a teacher, I read it every year to my third grade classes, and my students loved it as well. So, The Phantom Tollbooth. Oh, and this is... Let me just share with you. This is our main character, Milo. He's a young boy. And this is a magical dog named Talk. And as you see, he has a clock on him. And this book is a fantasy. There's a lot of things in here that couldn't happen. And Milo travels to some magical lands, and he learns some valuable lessons about life. So I think everyone should read this book. Also, if you would like to read it as a family or even listen to it, they have it on audiobook, and my family and we listened to this book together, and my son absolutely loved it. So it's a really good way to do something as a family, and it's a great book for family discussions. Even your mom and dad will enjoy it. Okay, chapter 1 is called Milo. There once was a boy named Milo who didn't know what to do with himself. Not just sometimes, but always. When he was in school, he longed to be out, and when he was out, he longed to be in. On the way, he thought about coming home, and coming home, he thought about going. Wherever he was, he wished he were somewhere else, and when he got there, he'd wondered why he'd even bothered. Nothing really interested him, least of all, the things that should have. It seems to me that almost everything is a waste of time, he remarked one day as he walked dejectedly home from school. I can't see the point in learning to solve useless problems, or subtracting turnips from turnips, or knowing where Ethiopia is, or how to spell February. And since no one bothered to explain otherwise, he regarded the process of seeking knowledge as the greatest waste of time of all. Yikes. As he and his unhappy thoughts hurried along, for while he was never anxious to be where he was going, he liked to get there as quickly as possible, it seemed a great wonder that the world, which was so large, could sometimes feel so small and empty. And worst of all, he continued sadly, there's nothing for me to do, nowhere I can go, and hardly anything worth seeing. He punctuated this last thought with such a deep sigh that a house sparrow singing nearby stopped and rushed home to be with his family. See, boys and girls, he's even making the birds sad. Without stopping or looking up, Milo dashed past the buildings and busy shops that lined the street, and in a few minutes he reached home, dashed through the lobby, hopped into the elevator 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and off again, opened his apartment door, rushed in his room, flopped dejectedly onto a chair, and grumbled softly, another long afternoon. He looked glumly at all the things he owned, the books that were just too much trouble to read, the tools he'd never learned to use, the small electric automobile he hadn't driven in months, or was it years, and the hundreds of other games and toys, and bats and balls, and bits and pieces scattered around him. And then, to one side of the room, just next to the phonograph, which is something he used to play music with, today it might be a radio, he noticed something he had certainly never seen before. Who could possibly have left such an enormous package, and in such a strange one? For while it was not quite square, it was definitely not round, and for its size, it was larger than almost any other big package of smaller dimensions that he'd ever seen. So he notices a big box in his room. Attached to one side was a bright blue envelope which said simply, "For Milo, who has plenty of time," which is something we all have right now, huh? Of course, if you've ever gotten a surprise package, you can imagine how puzzled and excited Milo was. And if you've never gotten one, pay close attention because someday you might. "I don't think it's my birthday," he puzzled, "and Christmas must be months away, and I haven't been outstandingly good, or even good at all." He had to admit this even to himself. "Most probably, I won't like it anyway. But since I don't know where it came from, I can't quite possibly send it back." He thought about it for quite a while, and then opened the envelope, but just to be polite. "One genuine turnpike toll booth," it stated, and then it went on. "Easily assembled at home, and for use by those who have never traveled in lands beyond." So I'm going to stop right here. If you don't know what a toll booth is, it's like a little place that you would drive through and you'd have to pay money to pass through that. You might have been through on a toll road before. So that's what's inside his box, a little toy toll booth. "Beyond what?" thought Milo as he continued to read. "This package contains the following: one genuine turnpike toll booth to be erected according to directions." That means to be put together. 3 precautionary signs to be used in a precautionary fashion. Assorted coins for paying your toll. 1 map up to date and carefully drawn by master cartographers depicting natural and man-made features. 1 book of rules and traffic regulations which may not be bent or broken. And in small letters at the very bottom it concluded, "Results are not guaranteed, but if not perfectly satisfied, your wasted time will be refunded." Boys and girls, can you refund wasted time? Can you get that back? Interesting. Following the instructions, which told him to cut here, lift there, fold back all around, he soon had the toll booth unpacked and set up on its stand. He fitted the windows in place and attached the roof, which was extending out on both sides, and fashioned the coin box. It was very much like the toll booths he'd seen many times on family trips, except, of course, it was much smaller and purple. What a strange present, he thought to himself. The least they could have done was send a highway, which is a road, to go with it, for it's terribly impractical without one. But since at the time there was nothing else to play with, he set up 3 of the signs. These are what the signs said. "Slow down, approaching toll booth." Another one said, "Please have your fare ready." That means your money. And the last one says, "Have your destination in mind." That means you need to know where you're going. And he slowly unfolded the map. And I'll go back and show you what the map looked like. This is the map that Milo unfolded. Wow. As the announcement stated, it was a beautiful map in many colors, showing principal roads, rivers and seas, towns and cities, mountains and valleys, intersections and detours, and sites of outstanding interest, both beautiful and historic. The only trouble was, Milo had never heard of any of the places it indicated, and even the names sounded most peculiar. "I don't think there really is such a country," he concluded after studying it very carefully. "Well, it doesn't matter anyways." And he closed his eyes and he poked his finger on the map. "Dictionopolis?" Milo read slowly when he saw what his finger had chosen. "Oh well, I might as well go there as anywhere." He walked across the room and dusted off his toy car carefully. Then, taking the map and the rule book with him, he hopped in and, for lack of anything better to do, drove slowly up to his toll booth. As he deposited his coin and rolled past, he remarked wistfully, "I do hope this is an interesting game. Otherwise, the afternoon will be so terribly dull." And what I have to tell you is, Milo's afternoon was definitely not dull. So here's a picture of Milo in his little toy car driving to lands beyond. And his destination was Dictionopolis, which sounds a lot like dictionary to me. So the next chapter is called Beyond Expectations. So if you're interested in this book, I can read some more to you. So make sure you reach out and let me know, and I will continue reading. I love rereading books, especially some of my favorites. If you'd like to have a discussion with your family, I'd like you to think about what kind of character is Milo? What kind of kid is he? What maybe character traits does he, demonstrate? Because Milo is definitely going to go through a transformation in this story. So it's a really good place to start. How does Milo appear in chapter 1? And maybe what kind of things do you think he might need to change about himself? Okay? Thanks for tuning in, Hawks, and I really, really hope you read The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. See you soon!